That heavy piece of furniture in the corner that the whole family gathered around. That room nobody was allowed to enter. That whole way of running a home that has completely disappeared. The 1950s house worked differently from top to bottom. The things in it, the rooms, the daily routines that held a family together, so many of them are simply gone, replaced by a home a child today would find unrecognizable. In a few minutes, you are going to hear about the one machine that arrived in that decade and changed the American family forever. The room in the house that was kept perfect and almost never used. And the daily routine every mother followed that has almost completely vanished. 50 things from the old home fill this video. These are the ones that make people say, "Oh, we had exactly that." All of them real. All of them in millions of houses. If you grew up in the 1950s or 60s, you did not just see these things. You lived with them every single day in the house that raised you. Subscribe before we start and stay to the end, because the last one is the thing about the old home that people say they miss the most. In the corner of the living room sat a brand new thing. A heavy wooden box with a small curved glass screen, and it changed everything. It was the television, and in that decade it went from a rare luxury to the center of the American home. The whole family gathered around the single set because there was only one, and they watched the same program together at the same time because there was no other way. The set had a handful of channels, rabbit ear antennas you adjusted by hand, and a screen that took a moment to warm up and glowed for a second after you turned it off. Here is how fast it happened. In 1950, fewer than one American home in 10 had a television. By 1960, roughly 9 in 10 did. In a single decade, the television went from almost nowhere to almost everywhere, one of the fastest changes in the history of the American home, and it quietly rearranged the entire evening around itself. Then came a second set, and a third, and eventually a screen in every hand. The family that once gathered around one television, watching one thing together, scattered to separate rooms and separate screens. That single glowing box that pulled everyone into one room is gone. The next thing was a whole room that most families barely used. Many homes had a room you were not really allowed to be in. The formal living room, the good room, the parlor. It had the nicest furniture in the house, and that furniture was often sealed under clear plastic slipcovers to protect it, so it stuck to your legs in summer and crackled when you sat. There was a good sofa nobody sat on, good lamps nobody turned on, and it was all kept spotless and ready for company that came only a few times a year. The family actually lived in the kitchen and the den. The good room waited. Here is what it really was. It was a display of respectability. In a time when a family's standing mattered enormously, the perfect untouched parlor said, "We are doing well. We have nice things. We are the kind of people who keep a room ready for guests." It was not for living. It was for showing. The casual, open floor plan swept it away. Families stopped keeping a room in reserve, tore down the walls, and started actually living in every room of the house. The perfect plastic-covered parlor that nobody used disappeared, and honestly, few people miss the plastic. The next thing filled the house with routine, one day at a time. The week in the old home ran on a strict and unspoken schedule, the same rhythm in house after house. Monday was wash day, an all-day affair with a wringer washer and a clothesline, because there was no quick load between other tasks. Tuesday was ironing, a whole day of it, because almost everything needed pressing, even the sheets and the handkerchiefs. There was a day for baking, a day for the big cleaning, and a night that was always the same supper. Life had a shape you could set a clock by. Here is what has been lost in it. The housewife of that era was running a genuine full-time operation, skilled and relentless, with no shortcuts. She mended clothes instead of replacing them, darned socks, turned collars, canned vegetables in the fall, and knew how to do 100 things by hand that have simply left the culture. It was enormous, unpaid, invisible work, and it held the whole household up. The automatic washer, the dryer, permanent press fabric, cheap clothing, and the freezer aisle dissolved the old schedule. The rigid rhythm of wash day and ironing day and the deep domestic skill behind it quietly faded from the American home. Before we go on, tell me in the comments, do you remember wash day, or a mother or grandmother who ironed everything? I read every single one. The kitchen was the true heart of the house, and it was full of things that have vanished. Older homes still had a real icebox cooled by a block of ice and a little door or chute where the milkman left the delivery. The new kitchens had steel cabinets, a chrome dinette set, and a big rounded refrigerator that hummed. Food came in glass and paper and metal, not plastic. Leftovers went under a plate or into a jar. A whole pantry of staples stood ready because you cooked from scratch every day without thinking of it as anything special. Here is what quietly disappeared. The kitchen was a workshop, not a showroom. It was built to produce 3 real meals a day, from raw ingredients, by hand, and everyone knew how. Bread was baked, chickens were cut up whole. Nothing was pre-made, because pre-made barely existed yet, and cooking was simply a constant, expected part of every single day. The freezer, the microwave, fast food, and the whole universe of packaged convenience food changed the kitchen forever. The icebox, the milk chute, the from-scratch pantry, and the daily hand cooking they served are nearly gone. The next things were the small fixtures every home had that you never thought about. Scattered through the house were fixtures so common that nobody gave them a second thought, and almost all of them are gone now. There was the telephone, one heavy rotary phone mounted on the kitchen wall or sitting in the hall, with a cord and a busy signal and no way to take it with you. There was a full set of encyclopedias on the shelf, the family's entire internet pulled down whenever a child had a question. There was a sewing machine that got real use, a hi-fi console for records that was itself a piece of furniture, and ashtrays in every room, because nearly everyone smoked, indoors, all the time. Here is what ties them together. Each of these was a single object that did one thing, that you owned for decades, that you repaired when it broke, and that had its own permanent place in the house. Your phone, your music, your reference library, your entertainment, each was a real physical thing with weight and a home, not an app inside a slab of glass. The smartphone and the computer swallowed almost all of it. The phone, the encyclopedia, the record player, the camera, the calendar, all of it now living invisibly inside one device. The house full of solid, single-purpose objects, each with its own place, emptied out. The last one is the thing people miss the most, the feeling the old home had that is hardest to name. And what people miss most about the old home was never the objects. It was a feeling the house itself seemed to hold. It was the sense that home was a world apart, a bounded, private place the outside could not easily reach. When you walked in and shut the door, you were truly in, and the office, the news, the noise of the world stayed outside where it belonged. The mother was usually home, the kitchen usually smelled of something, and the house had a steadiness to it. The same routines, the same smells, the same safe walls, day after day after day. Here is the whole heart of it. The home was a refuge. It was slower than the world outside and separate from it, a place that belonged wholly to the family and ran on its own quiet rhythm. A child came home from school to a house that felt settled and safe and entirely theirs, and that feeling of home as a shelter from the world is what people ache for most. The world found its way inside. The screens brought the office and the news and the endless noise through the walls and into every room and every hand. The rhythms loosened, the house grew busier and more connected and less separate, and the deep, quiet refuge that home once was slowly thinned out. But if you grew up in a home like that, safe behind the door with the whole world shut outside, you remember exactly how it felt, and no one can take that back. The single television the whole family gathered around, the perfect parlor under plastic that nobody used, the wash day and the ironing day and the mother who mended everything, the icebox, the milk chute, and the kitchen that cooked from scratch, the rotary phone on the wall and the encyclopedias on the shelf, and the feeling of a home that was a world apart. Every one of it, gone or nearly gone. Some swept away by new machines, some by open floor plans, some by a single glass screen that swallowed a whole house full of things. None of it felt special at the time. It was just home. It was just the house you lived in, the ordinary rooms and routines of an ordinary life you never thought would change. We do not really miss the appliances or the furniture. We miss the home. The one room everyone gathered in, the mother in the kitchen, the steady rhythm, the feeling of walking in, shutting the door, and being safe in a world that was entirely your own. That home does not come back. But it does not really leave either. It is still here, in a photograph, in a memory, in you. So tell me in the comments, what is the one thing from your childhood home that you remember most? Name it, and one thing it brings back. Not the object. The feeling of being home. Subscribe, and we will keep looking back together, because there is a lot more of this country left to remember.